Hey everyone, getting ready for the 2019 tournament season, and as I'm getting ready, one of the big things that I did is I changing all of my electronics out to Garmin. And you'll notice I have a big hole right here in the console. So I have, what's going to go in here is the Garmin 1242, which is XSV, which is pretty big. It's one of the touch models. The challenge that I have is I have a 2017 Skeeter FX. This is the plate that originally that the Lowrance unit fit in, and so I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna flush mount it, and I went to do that. It doesn't fit inside the deal, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I could cut all this, and I wasn't really excited about that because I was pretty sure my first tournament's up in a couple of days and I would screw this up. Last Friday, it's about 4:30, almost 5 o'clock, I picked up the phone and I called Bass Boat Technologies, and they make this mount that's going to go in place of this. I called them and said, can you get me one here by Tuesday and ship it today? And they said, yeah, we can do that. And lo and behold, today at, I don't know, 10 o'clock, this showed up. Already all put together. And where this is going to go is right like that. They make one specifically for the Skeeter boats and any other different types of boats, and depending on what kind of mount you're going to get. This is the single unit mega because of the 12-inch size. This will sit on its own brackets and it'll sit right like that. And so the nice thing about this mount, one, it looks fantastic. There's another brand out there that is a good mount too. I don't think it looks as cool as this one does. And this one will go in pretty easy. And you'll see it's going to mount, it's going to move that screen a little bit closer to me as I'm sitting in my seat and driving. I think it'll be great. They thought about all the nice little stuff, little rubber mount here, all that. And so I'm going to do the install real quick. I had to drill 6 holes in here. And fit in place of the factory holes, not a big deal. The big thing I would recommend if you're going to drill into the fiberglass, start with a much smaller drill bit and then work your way up. I went from let's see what it was. I started with 3 30-seconds and moved all the way up to a 5 30-seconds, but I did it at a 3 30-second, then I went up to 1/8, and then I went up to 5 30-second. Just to make sure it's possible to fracture fiberglass and splinter it. And I was like, if I have a fiberglass repair, it's not going to work. So let's get ready and let's get the sucker installed. All right, I just had to take it back off again because a couple things I forgot. The Bass Boat Technology guys went to such great detail to make it sure it looks like a really good factory install that they include these little caps that are going to go over the top of the nuts or the screws. Well, they did really cool ones in that you put the screw through and then this cap's just going to fold up over the top of that. Well, I thought, oh, it's just cap's going to go right on. Well, I forgot that, so I take the screws out. And then the other thing I forgot, hey, it's easier just to run the cables through here before. And while I was mid-stroke taking that sucker off, you noticed me using a screwdriver. Yeah, the battery in my cordless drill died. And we don't know where the charger is. And so, oh well, I use a screwdriver and do it the old-fashioned way. So now I'm going to run the cables. All right, so now I've got the bolts and everything to hook this gimbal mount up to, or not gimbal mount, just the mount. And one of the things that's really slick about what Bass Boat Technologies does when you get your mount is they go ahead based off of the model that you tell them that you're going to be having. In my case, the Garmin 1242 XSV Touch. they draw pencil lines, so you know exactly where to mount your mount. So that's what I'm gonna do now. All right, so I got that mounted, and now I've got to do put the actual unit on. Now I'm using these little mounts here for today, but I can tell you right now that those will be replaced with some lock ones. I'll do a video on those later, but because it would be way too easy without those for someone to come along and take it. So that mounts up real well. Kind of see, and you can kind of angle that on what you like for your own view. Nice good mount. And then there's this nice cool little plate that goes up on top. And I'll show you you end up with a super clean install that, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best looking ones out there. You can see that cover goes over and over. I mean, just looks super slick. I think, I've got a couple more things I need to do to get that Garmin unit ready. It has a trim piece that goes on here and here, so I'll put those on next. I just wanted to focus on how easy it was to set up the Bass Boat Technologies mount. From start to finish, I think maybe that took me 20 minutes, if that. And most of that was making sure I had all the right parts and where everything ran. But from literally installing it, putting it up, maybe even 15 minutes to do it all. And super easy. Overall, great finish, fit, and feel. All this is, I paid for all this, is not sponsored by Bass Boat Technologies. I thought it was a much cleaner install than it was if I was trying to flush mount it with having to trim out that plate. So hope it was useful. You definitely had to take a look. I got a link down below for Bass Boat Technologies. Check them out. If it worked for you, they've got all different kinds of mounts. Fit your boat from the bow to the console area. And I think you'll find it pretty helpful. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy.